Good afternoon, everybody. This is Jonathan Pariente here with you alongside my broadcast partner, Pat Brown. And as the men's season is kicking off in just a matter of 3 days from now on November 9th, just like we had with the women earlier today, we had Megan Campbell on with us. Now it's time to bring the men's head coach here with us, Coach Jeffrey Jean-Baptiste. And the men have a strong-looking club coming into this season, and we could think of no better person than Coach Baptiste to share that with us. Coach, it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for taking some time with us. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm great, man. It's great. It's great to be here on this call. Highlighting the exciting times at Brooklyn College. So happy to be a part of this call.
Oh, absolutely. So now let's talk a little bit about last season. It was a good turnaround season for this club last year. I know the record was not what it had indicated. I know it was 7-19, but you guys did make it to the CUNYAC tournament. It had been a while since you guys had been there. I know it was a tough loss against Hunter that in that opening round, but talk about what you picked up from that playoff season last year and what you learned from this team from a year ago to today.
It was a process. We've been here before. This kind of team eerily reminded me of a team that before we won the championship in 2020, we had to go through our growing pains. Slightly a little different. Not being able to pull away with any non-conference wins early, but seeing the fact that we were winning in a few of those games towards the end of the game and just didn't know how to quite pull them out. And then once we got to conference play, and then we kind of figure out the team. The team got to create their own identity, and then we started winning some games in the conference play. And even the games that we did lose, we had a good opportunity to win them. Obviously just experience didn't play a part in being able to pull those games out. But there's a process. They had to go through it last year in order for everybody to kind of be, more on board with what we're trying to do for this upcoming year.
Coach, in the middle of the season, you kind of changed your philosophy as to how you were playing in the beginning of the season and then to the end. And I thought that it benefited you, especially in conference play, in crunch time, that you guys weren't frazzled and you guys played within yourselves.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that when you bring in 14 new players, that you gotta get caught trying to figure out. We thought we had, in the beginning of the season, we tried our best with that particular philosophy, and as the game started, going along, we just figured out that this team needed a different type of structure to kind of create the identity. And, once we were able to kind of establish that and everybody was kind of buying into it, we were able to kind of, pull out those games that we were unfortunately losing in the beginning of the year, especially, those close games where we needed to, make a basket or make a key stop. So more towards conference play when we kind of knew exactly what we had more of a better chance to pull out those, close games.
We definitely saw a lot of these players take on that role towards the end of the year. We've talked highly about Malik Dale. We saw the arrival of Jaden Casanova and what he could bring to the table, and he made an impact right away. Serge really came into his own, really becoming a very consistent double and scoring machine for you late in the year. Talk to me about just the changes and improvement these guys had towards the end of the season as you got into the playoffs and went on the run that you did.
Lots of highs and lows. It was good moments, and it was, not necessarily great moments. But for the most part, we were, again, progressing towards something, that we felt like we can really put out there that, can put us in a situation to win a championship. We had, great moments where, Malik Dale came into his own and started to establish himself as one of the better players in conference. And then, adding guys like Jaden and even Steph McGill and then Serge obviously coming on late, kind of added some more stability around Malik based on the fact that we were kind of relying heavy on Malik in the beginning portions of that. So now that we have those key guys back and their identity is more established, more defined, they're all seniors now, so they're all playing for that, elusive championship. So, it creates that, aura or culture that we're trying to regain back here to, to kind of do the things that allowed us to be successful in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking about that core, Coach, how great is it to have that core coming back? You have McFadden, you have Tradesbull, you have Dale, you got Stephon, you have Gabriel and Makai as a nucleus, and now you have the new pieces that you've recruited. How good does that make you feel having a strong and deeper team?
So it's funny that you say that because it wasn't planned. So towards the end of the year, these exit meetings, and we're talking to these seniors, and with COVID, they were extended an extra year due to the fact that they didn't have a season during their all freshman year. And then in those conversations, it was kind of up in arms, up in the air, whereas they didn't know whether or not they would be able to come back. The commitment to being a grad student or upper class student is just kind of is something that they had to kind of really take in, and they kind of left me on limb. So at that point, we kind of hit the ground running and started recruiting for the replacements. And we brought in some key pieces, a couple of sound pieces that obviously, if given the opportunity, would be able to kind of step in and do some things for us. And then closer towards the end of the summer, one by one, Serge, I think, was the first one to kind of say he was coming. No, Gabriel Barker was on board from the gate, so we knew we were getting him back. Mm-hmm. But then Serge, kind of, hinted at coming back, and then David also hinted at coming back. And then now, a class that we brought in and the returning of the experienced players, just makes us so deep, Mm-hmm. Instead of a team that we were primarily 8 to 9, now we probably about 11 to 12 on any mm-hmm. given night, based on a night of particular person's hot hand strategy or anything like that. So we're very fortunate now to have those experienced players coming back with the incoming class that we did bring in, who we think will pretty much carry the mantle moving forward after this year. So we're very excited for this year and the future, for sure.
Talking with men's head coach Jeffrey Jean-Baptiste, and let's talk about some of these new players that are coming in. And you spoke to us very highly about one in particular.
You froze out, Jonathan.
What was that, Pat? Oh, yeah. You talked about one player in particular. That was Brendan Armour, big 6'6" man. You've spoken very highly about him being a really important scoring piece for this offense. Talk about Brendan Armour and what he's going to bring with this offense.
Man, he's going to provide us with so much. Not to say that we were lacking, but somebody with his size being able to do what he does, definitely provides us with an extra punch. From the offensive standpoint, he's able to shoot it, post it. Very high IQ guy, can make a lot of reads. But believe it or not, obviously offense was one of the things that we were looking for when it came to bring him on board. But his level of defensive IQ awareness is going to be to me, head and shoulders better than what his offense will be, at least in his first year. He's going to provide us some rim protecting, some great backline help, and great hands. He's very active. That's the one thing that kind of impressed me more than obviously the things that we expect him to bring. The offensive side, we're not going to really put it too much on his shoulders to really, but he's going to be a great piece to add, somebody that we can be able to throw the ball into, to take off some plays from some pressure from the guards, and for other people that have to create plays. So to have that type of inside game, outside game, based on the strategy that we're going against, it provides, great things for coaches to kind of utilize, and for players to kind of, utilize on the court as well.
Mm-hmm. How important is it, Coach, as you're going forward, to bring those new players into your system and then incorporate them with the building blocks that you already had established?
My job is to just get them ready. The seniors are doing a great job of letting them know how serious it is, and we all know as freshmen they come in wide-eyed. They don't understand what's really at stake until things are shown to them, or if they're in the fire. But the seniors kind of let it know from the gate that this is about a championship, and it takes the sacrifice, it takes the hard work, it takes the commitment, all the different things that allows your team to kind of be successful. They had no choice but to try to buy in. With the depth that we do have, it's not not to say that there's not opportunity, but there's not a lot of opportunity to waste. If it's not somebody that's being able to come in and contribute and do all the right things and do everything in their power to kind of help us win, they won't be pretty much playing on the court where they have the talent to play. If it was a year where we were in the rebuilding process, they might have an opportunity to kind of, go through the growing pains. But due to the fact that, everything's on the line this year, those new players that are able to kind of step in, contribute, and do all the right things that's going to lead us to be successful, those are the ones that's going to be on the floor, doing the things that, that's going to help us win.
We talked about Armor. Talk about some of the other, also the other new players that are going to be, that you believe are going to make a nice impact on this club. I think another one was Joe Charles was another player very highly spoken of as well. Yeah, talk about some of these new players in addition to Armor that are going to really, I think, take this team to a different level from 1 year ago.
Yeah, for sure. A guy like Joe Charles, man, he's very, he's very active. Not too like, he doesn't shy away from the moment. He's out there. He's playing. A guy that we didn't think we were going to get, in the recruiting, and then he kind of fell to us, and we were ecstatic when we got him. But obviously provides depth. He's definitely going to be a guy that's going to be out there, making plays for us. We have another guard in Randolph Charles, JUCO player who went to a Division II school last year, but he's also going to put depth from the guard position. Very, very fast, very active. Hopefully he'll be able to make some impactful plays throughout the course of the season. We have another guard in Munir Ibrahim who was another guard, similar to Joe, who's a lead guard, but he's a big guard. So we can kind of play him off the ball, can shoot it, really, really active on the ball, gets his hands on a lot of steals. Who else? Off the top of my head.
Yeah,
how about Edmund Rucci?
Evan Rucci, yeah.
Yeah.
Funny you say, with Edmund, he was a situation where he reached out via email. He was already in school. We already kind of had our idea of who will be on the team. He reached out. I saw where he came from, had a conversation. I'm like, I know the program he comes from, and I'm like, you know what, based on the fact that he came from a program I truly respect, I give him an opportunity to try out for the team, and I told him it's going to be a hard situation for him to make the team. You have to kind of beat some guys out and really show that, you can really, do it day in and day out. And he hit the ground running. He was probably one of our most in shape players. He stayed true to what he does. He had great fundamentals. He was a very, a person that can pick things up quickly, and he became a coach favorite. He became a fan favorite. And obviously he was able to kind of work his way to the team, as a walk-on per se, but we don't even look at him as a walk-on. We look at him as a program kid who's going to basically learn from this year, see where his opportunities will be this year and eventually be a key part of our program moving forward.
In the scrimmage, I noticed he was very smooth on the court. He didn't look out of place. He knew where his spots were. He got to him very well. The Charleses, both Joe and Randolph, I saw a lot of energy. I saw them moving around. I like the way that you implemented them in the trap and in breaking the trap. So I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of good things from these new players that you brought on the team.
For sure. I mean, I'm definitely in a fortunate position to have all these players at my disposal. So, it feels good to know that, you put in players in the game and they'll have a positive impact for the most part, being able to put in a guy like Randolph who can really go up and down the court and make some plays. He's made some great passes. He's made some great shots. We're definitely trying to get him up to speed so that we can, utilize him more. And then guys like Edmund, you never know with a guy like Edmund who can probably go in there and make some quick shots. That's one thing he's been able to show us from the gate is that he can make some shots, especially from the perimeter. And in college basketball, being able to make that shot from the perimeter definitely changes the game. So you never know. I've heard stories about guys like this, not to say that this is going to technically happen, but guys like this, who, looks unassumingly like a guy that may not play a big part, but eventually playing a big part once everything starts to kind of click for him. So who knows, we're very excited about him. We love the fact that, we have somebody like that that's continually learning, trying to get better. And hopefully, there'll be a time or a day that we'll be able to utilize him throughout the course of the season.
Talking with Coach Jeffrey Jean-Baptiste, and the first 8 games of your schedule are going to be very interesting, all against non-CUNY opponents. a couple of new teams that we've never seen on here. And your first two games are going to be big ones against the NJAC conference, NJCU and Kane, which are very tough, no doubt, very tough teams. How confident are you with this new group and the depth that you have, with the size that you have? How confident are you that you guys can make an impact in these first couple of games against two very tough opponents in Jersey?
I mean, based off the practices, we feel good. We feel good where we're at. We're definitely fine tuning some of the strategy portions when it comes to competing against them. But we know NJAC opponents are typically tough. So that's one thing we're trying to make sure that we bring to the table. And then just being disciplined. One of the things that we suffered from playing against them last year, where we competed for the majority of the game, but a lot of undisciplined plays, turnovers we're trying to clean up. So if we make sure that we take care of the ball, we match their physicality, and then we make some shots, and then obviously, puts us in a good situation to win the game.
Coach, talking about your big men, you got Gabriel Barker coming back, you got Makai Barlow coming back. Is there a time where you will implement like a kind of twin towers where they're both on the court at the same time, or is that something that you're not too particular of doing?
Not necessarily Gabe and Makai, but Makai and Brennan, or Gabe and Brennan, where we have that lineup, because due to the fact that Brennan can play on the perimeter a little bit, you won't have so many people clogging the paint as much. But yeah, for sure, with Brennan being 6'6" and being able to be that that 4-5-4 position, allows us to play big. With Makai being 6'7", Brendan being 6'6", and again, both of those guys are rim protectors. So, we're definitely looking to probably go to that lineup a large majority of the season. Gabe is there. Even a guy like Alton, who's made big strides. Not necessarily the physical guy, but we're building on his physicality, but a really good finesse inside player for us, who's getting better day by day. Who's going to be providing a lot of impact for us at the 5 and the 4 spot as well. So, we feel good about our depth at the 5 and 4 spot too, throughout the course of the season, because based off the fact that every particular person, provides a different, look for us. And based on a particular game that we're going against, allows us to put out a particular strategy that's going to allow us to win.
Talking with Coach Jeffrey Jean-Baptiste. Coach, you've been here with this program as an assistant coach and as a head coach, and you have seen many different players walk through these doors. You've seen many great athletes walk through these doors, and different players that you've coached. When you look at this team compared to, let's go back to like a team, I remember when this club had Exxon and Jamel Gist, et cetera, under Coach McAuliffe. And now you have, I feel like if everything goes right, you might have a similar team to what the 2018, 2017 team had. Very similar. Do you feel this team is kind of getting into that ballpark a little bit, in that range, or maybe it's a little different?
It's a little different based off the type of players that we had on that time. Like the lead guy, like Exxon, was a program guy. Jamel, even though he didn't start off as a freshman, came in as a sophomore. So those were a lot of guys that kind of like were brought into the program in comparison to a lot of these guys. So I would agree with you, but we're still at the beginning phase of that. It did take some time. Obviously, in that first year, we lost in the championship, and then we had to, come back the following year and then win the championship. So we're at the beginning phase of that with a lot of the pieces that we do have, the depth that we have. We have guys that can, easily, compete for starting jobs for us, or even at other schools in the region. So, yeah, for sure, I can see similarities in it, but based on some outlining things, that's the only difference. Like Exxon being a 4-year guy, in comparison to some of our better players being more transfers and stuff like that.
Coach, my last question: where do you see your team in the conference? You had, Baruch, you had John Jay, that was, on the top. Where do you see you guys right now in the preseason going forward?
Well, I'm hoping to be top 3. For sure. You never know. It's always hard to really gauge, what, first of all, who they have and how it plays out. I know Lehman is going to be good, for the most part. Farouk, I know they're rebuilding, but for the most part, I know he does a great job over there. So, I can assume that he's going to be, in a situation where he's going to be having his guys, ready, for the opportunities, to continue what he's been doing for the past 3 years. We also have CCNY, for the past couple of years, they've been brought in a lot of players, a lot of, active, bigs with a lot of great perimeter play. And they did another, solid job in the offseason, bringing in, better players just like, the ones they have in the program. So I'm sure they're going to be another situation where, they're going to be, vying for that top 3 spot as well. So we're trying to be in that upper echelon, and if we can do that, that puts us in a situation where, we can compete for a championship. I think all the years we've been here, we've never won as a number 1 seed. All
Wow.
the championships, we are
Yep.
a 2 seed, and then the one time in 2020 we won as a 5 seed. After we suffered all those, losses with the injury of Mike Tesserero. But, so I don't really play into like finishing number 1, finishing number 2, or finishing number 3. I just want to be in the top 3, knowing that we can beat any team on any particular night and being able to play our best basketball in late February. That's pretty much it.
Well, based on what we have seen from scrimmage and what we've been seeing in practice, and with the depth this team has, I think the expectations look very good. I feel this team could have a very promising season, and we will find that out together on day 1, November 9th against NJCU. The first home game for the men's Bulldogs will be on November 13th. The men will play against Kane University, and that should be a very impressive first start of the season. And we look forward to seeing this entire club, this new group, as well as the returning players for the upcoming season. Coach Jeffrey
Very
Jean-Baptiste.
excited. Very excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Jeffrey Jean-Baptiste, thank you so much for taking some time with us, and best of luck to you guys for the upcoming season.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Always. All right.
Thank you.
All righty. That was Coach Jeffrey Jean-Baptiste. We remind you, everybody, once again, the men's Bulldogs will play their first home game, as will the women, on November 13th. And we will have live coverage of that game on YouTube.com, live streamed on YouTube.com. Search Brooklyn College Bulldogs, your home for live and for all Bulldog sports. Coach Baptiste, once again, thank you so much for your time. And we will see all of you at the Quad next week.
Yes.
All right.
All right, fellas.
Thank you, Coach.
All right.
You guys
Good luck in your meeting.
Thank you.
All right.